Hi, and welcome to today's yin class in our summer slowdown series. And today's class is all about letting go and releasing that tension in the body and tension in the mind. So we'll go ahead and get started right away. We won't waste any time. Just come to a nice seat on your mat. Real quick, actually, before we start, if you need props, you might want to have one or two blocks with you or a blanket for today's class. All right, now we will get started at the center of our mat, just in a nice cross-legged seat, whatever feels comfortable, and just take a moment to begin our practice by sitting tall. Allow the eyes to gently close. Hands can rest in the lap or maybe gently onto the knees. And we'll just take the first minute or so here to ground and to check in with our body. As I said, this class will be about finding that release within the bones, within the muscles. Find yourself letting go. Support the body with the props so it allows the muscles to relax. And from there, we can start to relax deeply into the joints and ligaments and to find some real benefit within our yin practice by increasing our mobility. Allow the breath to flow gently as we move throughout our class today. Inhale and exhaling normally, avoiding holding the breath. If you find yourself holding the breath, it's likely that your body is holding on as well, to where the muscles will tighten. And we want to release our grip. To get started, we'll come into a nice butterfly pose. So for your butterfly pose, take the soles of the feet together, still in the center of your mat. If you like, it's very likely that your knees will be up and lifted from the mat, but you can have blocks on either side of your knees to provide some support as you come into your butterfly pose. Now you can stay right here, seated up tall. You can also have your hands behind you for support, maybe even just pushing forward as you start to lean forward, bending from the hips. And if you do have issues in the low back, continue to keep a nice straight line in the back of the body and just stay right here, getting that nice bend into the hips, working into the hip flexors. But if you are very comfortable in the back, you can come to a point where the back just starts to naturally round and fold forward. Maybe bring the hands out in front of you and allow the head to relax down. We'll hold our butterfly pose anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. Now, as you are in your butterfly pose, find your edge as always. Come to where you're really starting to feel that intention. So we want to feel it into the hips, into the inner thighs and the groin. And it may take some adjustment. So if you feel it more by having your feet closer to your body, then draw the feet in a little bit further. If that's harder on your knees, you may want to have the feet further away from you. If you would like to take your butterfly up a notch, you could also take a block in between the feet, and that will increase the adduction in the inner thighs. And from there, Again, come down only as low as you feel is appropriate for your body and start to relax into the pose. Feel that release. Feel the space created within the spine with every breath. Maybe the upper body lowers and relaxes down even just a millimeter with every exhale. We're trying to avoid that tendency of the body to hold on and to grip tightly to one position. Using the blocks and the support of the yoga props sends the body a signal. The nervous system is aware that it's supported. The muscles can relax. And from there, you'll dive deeper into those plastic, very immobile parts of the body, such as the ligaments and the fascia. If you were lowered down, start to slowly lift the upper body up into seated. And you can bring the hands behind you if they weren't there already. And just lift the back a little bit. We're just going to counter that forward bend with a very gentle back bend. Set your block to the side if you were using it. And then maybe take a couple of windshield wipers for the legs. From our butterfly, we'll come into a half butterfly. We'll start with the left leg extended out at a diagonal. And then draw that right foot in until it's about at the left inner thigh. And from here, you can start to fold forward. Again, bending from the hips. But if you're feeling any negativity in that lower back, keep the back straighter and stay a little bit higher. But we'll just come forward. Allow the head to hang heavy. Hands can support you. You can also take the hands to the head if you would like. Or a block to support the weight of the head is also very nice. Using the block just at the forehead. And then you're fully supported. No need to pull with the hands. Just breathing gently. Feel that tailbone staying nice and heavy and connected towards the mat. Allow the back of that left calf muscle to just melt into the mat. And as we take these long holds, and we find that depth, that edge, where we're feeling the stretch into the back of that left leg and along the hamstring, into the left hip. It's also important to find stillness. And to find that stillness, that's when we come back to the breath. Riding that wave of the gentle inhale and the exhale. The hips and the tailbone are heavy. The back of the neck stays nice and relaxed. On an inhale, use your hands, push into them as you bring your torso back to an upright position. And from here, you might want to use your left hand just to guide that left leg in a little bit, bend the knee, and you can take a couple of windshield wipers, loosen things up, feel that blood flow back into the left hip and into the left leg. And when you're ready, we'll take that over to the right side. So extend that right leg out at about a diagonal. Draw the left foot in till it reaches the inside of that right thigh. And then feel there's probably a difference in your body between left and right. So maybe it feels good to keep this right leg straight, or you can also keep it bent and come forward. Just make sure that you're supported and it feels that you're still feeling something. You're feeling that intention into the back of the right leg, into the right hip. Wherever you're at, extend that right leg, draw that left foot until it's almost touching the inside of the right inner thigh. And then from here, start to walk the torso forward. Either just letting the head hang, or if you like that support of the block, you can allow the head to rest down onto the block. Again, noticing the differences between right and left, but making no judgment. Just realizing that you may need to have some adjustments from one side of the body to the other. Perhaps you need to sit up onto a blanket. Perhaps you just lean forward slightly from the hips and you still feel that lengthening into the back of the right leg. You feel the stretch along the hamstring. You feel the opening into the right hip. As you come into each of these poses while we're doing our yin practice, there's lots of time to check in with the body. Lots of time to make that mental checklist from your feet to the back of the legs, up to the tailbone and the spine. Check in even with the shoulders. Make sure that you're not tightening up into the neck and the shoulders. The muscles along the jaw and the cheeks should be nice and relaxed. The eyes are just gently closed. And then come back to the breath. Notice the belly expand. And then on the exhale, feel it contract. Feel space being created with every inhale. And use that space to relax and to deepen on every exhale. Wonderful. Slowly start to bring yourself upright. Again, you can take the hands behind you. Maybe use the right hand to give that right leg a little bit of lift to help bend the knee. Taking a couple of windshield wipers. Get some movement back through that right leg. And to follow up both of those half butterflies, we're going to go into a full straddle. So in your full straddle, you may want a blanket or something to sit up a little bit higher on. Doing so will allow your hips to tilt forward and to give yourself a better bend from the hips and to find some more opening throughout the back of the legs. Otherwise, if we don't have that, for a lot of us, instead of getting the nice tilt from the hips and coming forward with a nice spine, a lot of us will start to round and to crunch and to lose that lengthening into the lower part of the spine, into the lumbar portion. So I do suggest, especially for these longer yin holds, to have a block or a nice comfy blanket to sit up just a little bit higher and to give your hips a little bit more room to move. So coming into your straddle, opening up the legs onto a diagonal, play around with the position. And from here, sit up tall and then start to bend from the hips. Again, if you have low back troubles, just keep the back nice and straight. You don't need to come very far forward. You can use the hands behind you to give yourself a little bit of a push. And you can really feel that along the back of the legs. I could stay right here and be just fine. If you are totally comfortable in your low back and you don't have any issues there, you can allow yourself to round and to come forward in our yin practice. Again, I like to use a block to keep my neck supported because then I know that I am fully releasing the weight of the head and the neck doesn't need to support that extra weight, but it's up to you. If you don't really struggle with many neck issues, you probably won't find that you need the block, but I like having it handy. The number one spot that I tense up is into my neck and shoulders, so I generally would need some props in those areas to give them a little message that they can just chill out and relax into the posture. So as we hold into this straddle for a couple of minutes here, again, keep breathing. I know you're going to really feel it into the back of those legs. Your feet can be pointed or they can be flexed, whatever is comfortable for you. Just aim to have the top of the leg, the knee facing up, so we're not rolling in or rolling out. And as we hold, remember, for any of these poses, since they are long holds, your body might be ready to release and to deepen a little bit further. So if you feel like your chest or your head can come a little bit closer towards the earth, adjust. Adjust your arms, adjust your props, and then come right back into it. Finding that stillness within the body. And to achieve stillness within the mind by using the breath and just focusing on the inhales and the exhales. Any thoughts that pass by are just moving through the mind without judgment. Just existing in this moment. Okay, as we come out of this pose, I urge you to be extra gentle and careful since that is a pretty deep posture. And for holding it for a longer portion, You may find that your body feels weak as you try to come out of some of these long holds, and that is totally natural, but that's why we come out with care and are very slow about it. So use your hands to provide your legs some support and draw them back in. Take the hands behind you, and once more, just do a couple of windshield wipers nice and slowly. You might feel some heat built into those hips. And when you're ready, we're going to come into a child's pose position. Taking a little variation in our child's pose. Take the knees out just a little bit wider than your hips. And then from here, if it feels good to you, you can take the arms in between the legs and just rest the head down, the side of the head down onto the mat. We're going to take this nice little cozy child's pose and just sink back into the hips, allow them to feel heavy and just to rest down towards the heels. If your neck doesn't like being on the side like this, you can also take a blanket or a small cushion and keep the head nice and straight by putting a padding underneath the forehead. We'll just take a moment to feel that nice release all the way down the lower portion of the spine into those hips and thighs. It's almost like you're giving yourself a hug with your legs. And we'll slowly start to peel our arms back out of our child's pose, and then just walk yourself forward until you come to rest onto your belly. So hips are connected to the mat. The elbows are just slightly in front of the shoulders. Allow the feet to come out wide so you make space for the low back, and we'll come into our Sphinx pose. Feel free to take a traditional Sphinx by leaving the hands out in front of you. Fingertips should generally be facing the top edge of the mat, maybe even at a slight diagonal towards the top corners of your mat. But think about lifting the chest up high. Maybe a little gentle movement just to get started. And you can come into your traditional Sphinx, or if you would like, you can grab a hold of the elbows and just take the hands to the outside of the upper arms. And from here, I'm going to set up with a block, again supporting the neck so I can fully release. Again, we're looking at avoiding any tension in the body. But from here, I still have a nice upper body back bend that is very gentle. I'm supporting the arms, giving myself a little bit of a hug. A nice gentle squeeze with the hands, and then the neck is fully supported and the head is supported as we just relax down into the mat. Hips and the tops of the thighs are heavy. You still feel the lift in the top portion of the chest and the very heart center. But yet, you can let the head to hang heavy. This is possibly one of my favorite poses of all the asanas, whether it's yin or vinyasa flow. And for the last minute, if you would like to deepen your Sphinx pose, you can come into a cobra, hands at a diagonal, and start to straighten the elbows, lifting the chest, lifting the crown of the head, looking straight ahead. But think about the heart center lifting, drawing the navel in, staying strong in the core. If you've come into your seal pose, we'll hold here for about 3 more breaths. And go ahead and release it down. Very good. Hands underneath the shoulders, maybe wiggle the hips back and forth. If you want, you can set the side of the face onto the mat and we'll just do some reverse windshield wipers, allowing the feet to drop from left into right. Again, this gets into that low back and just releases any of that gentle back bend that we just took. And when you're ready, we're going to push back and then bring our legs around until we come into a seated position. For our next pose, we're going to take a half shoelace pose. And as always, you do have options. We'll start with the left leg extended. Draw the right knee over the top of the left knee so that the knees are pretty much situated on top of each other. Now, this can be pretty intense as it is, or you might just feel like, whoa, my knee is really lifted. They don't sit that low. That's totally fine. If you're comfortable with having some lift in the knee, that's where you're at, and that's what your body is doing today. But if you would prefer, you could also take a seated figure 4 by crossing the right ankle over the top of the left knee. They will both work deeply into that right hip and hip flexor. So whatever is your choice for today will come into either a half shoelace or a half seated, or our seated figure 4 on the left side. Start by sitting up nice and tall. Take an inhale, and then as you exhale, we'll start to bring it forward. Keeping the back straight until you feel yourself just gently coming into that nice rounding, folding the top of the torso over the top of that right leg. And relaxing down. Both the seated figure 4 and also our half shoelace are very intense into that back of that left leg. This is something I need to do almost daily, just to recover into the back of my left calf and also to help with movement into the back of the foot, because the calf and all the muscles alongside the back of the leg, that's everything that's running back there. The calf connects into that Achilles tendon, which wraps around the bottom of the foot. So if you're having any sort of issues with movement into the bottom of the foot, working into the calf and also the back part of the leg will help with your movement into that bottom of the left foot. I know for many, plantar fasciitis is a big concern. And so getting some nice, juicy stretches into the back of the leg can be very helpful. I love it. All right. We will slowly come up from that. And then unravel those legs. Go ahead and bring that left foot in. You can either take windshield wipers, or if it feels better, you could also just give the back of the legs a nice tap onto the mat. That'll get things moving. And we'll take that to the opposite side. Again, play with it. If you prefer to take figure 4 on one side and not the other, go right ahead. If you're coming into your half shoelace pose, stack the left knee on top of the right knee. Start to sit up nice and tall, and then bending forward from the hips, start to walk yourself forward until you round in the spine, and just fold over the top of that left leg. I'm already feeling a big difference between my right and the left side of my body. I feel myself start to naturally deepen the inhales and the exhales. just to allow myself to hold this edge, to feel that deep stretch along the back of that left calf and the hamstring. You might be feeling it into that left hip. Wherever you're at, continue to relax, to release that tension. Seek out that tension with the inhales and release it with the exhale. Using yin is like becoming more aware of our body from head to toe. Finding the places we're stuck physically, maybe releasing the places we're stuck mentally as well. Beautiful. Let's start to lift the torso up nice and tall. Again, you can either take windshield wipers, or if you'd like, to sit up tall and just extend the legs and give them a little tap out, a little bit of a shake. We'll use that to counter that deep fold. And when you're ready, we're going to come onto our back and prepare for our next pose, which will be a happy baby pose. In happy baby, our torso is connected to the mat. We're drawing the knees down and in towards the upper body. Maybe taking a hold of that outside edge of the foot. So the hands are connected to the outside edge of the foot. The elbows come to the inside of the legs, and use the weight of the arms and the upper body just to draw the knees back and in towards the torso. If you find yourself wobbling or the tailbone coming up high, or it's just very difficult to reach your feet, you could also take a hold of the shins or even a part of your leggings if that's comfortable. But if you still can't find your way to relax into happy baby, then I suggest just taking a reclined butterfly pose. It's quite supported and you still open up through the hips. It's always nice to have options, but it's best in yin to find our version that we can relax and deepen further into it, versus holding tension just to try to find a version of the pose that just isn't working for our body for today. As we know, our bodies speak to us day to day, and every day it's a little bit different. So maybe today you're just like, nope, I just want to have a reclined butterfly. That would feel wonderful. Feel free to take that for yourself. If you're in your happy baby, use that weight of the upper body to keep drawing the feet down closer towards the mat. Maybe use the elbows to push the legs out a little bit wide, or to open up through the inner thighs and the groin. Breathe deeply. We'll take about 5 more breaths here. Wonderful. Let's slowly release the feet down if you were in happy baby, or drawing them in so that you come with the soles of the feet touching the mat. And from here, we're going to cross that right leg over the left so that the knees are stacked on top of each other. And from here, you can come into either a reclined shoelace pose by taking a hold of the outside of both of the feet, drawing them in, and then also maybe pulling them out to the side just gently as you draw them down towards the earth. Again, this pose may not be fully accessible for you today, so if you don't feel like taking the full reclined shoelace pose, you can come into a reclined figure 4 where the top of the right ankle is on the back of the left thigh, and then perhaps drawing the hands in between that space of the legs. Draw that left shin in towards the body. Again, a very nice hip opener on this side as well. So whatever version you feel like taking, we're just going to hold this for about 3 breaths. And on the release, keeping that cross in the legs, allow the left foot to come back to the mat. This time, let's push into that foot, lift the hips up, and then push the hips over to the right about 2 inches. And we'll allow the knees to fall over towards the left for our reclined twist. Draw that right arm out either to a T shape or you can take a cactus shape. I'm going to take a cactus shape since I'm a little bit restricted on my space. And the left hand can come to the outside of that right thigh, providing a nice little weight to keep those legs down, to feel that twist along the back of the spine. The neck can stay in neutral, looking up towards the sky. But if you do like to take a turn of the neck, you can also face that right hand. Here you can really feel the breath travel down through the length of the spine, feeling wide across the collarbones. Feeling the ribs expand. And then everything draw in on the exhale. To come out of that pose, we'll just bring the feet back towards the center of the mat. Lift up those hips and straighten yourself out so that the spine is in nice alignment. And we're going to take that little sequence over to the opposite side. So the right foot stays planted, but now the left foot crosses over. And so your knees are stacked on top of each other if you're taking your reclined shoelace. If you're taking your reclined figure 4, just allow that ankle to come over the top of the right knee. And then you can draw that right shin in, maybe taking a hold of it with the hands. If you want the shoelace, though, go ahead and keep the knees stacked and then start to draw the feet in, maybe taking a hold of the outside edges of the feet as you draw them in and down towards the mat. We're only going to take about 3 more breaths in this posture before we move into our final twist. Wonderful. From here, allow that right foot to come to the mat. We'll lift the hips up, just an inch or so that we can offset them towards the left. And then from here, the knees drop over towards the right. And we're coming into our reclined twists. On this side, again, the left hand or arm can come out to a T shape or to your cactus shape. Whatever feels good. And then the right hand takes a hold of the outside of that left thigh. Just a nice weight there, resting with the heaviness of the right arm. And you have that wonderful twist in the legs. And the expansiveness across the chest and the upper body. So you have this very gentle back bend and also upper body twist. Bringing out that last bit of tension. Hopefully, as we near the end of our practice, you have discovered all the places you are holding and found your method to release. One more nice inhale and exhale. And we'll start to unravel. Bring the hips back, both onto the mat. Realign the spine so that you're in a nice neutral position. And then from here, we're going to extend into our very final posture for the day, which is Shavasana. Maybe taking a blanket to cover up the body. But if you're relaxed and just want to open up the legs, allow the feet to rest gently at the side and the palms to face up, we'll start to close out our practice here. Just to bring our mind and body awareness back into our little checklist of where perhaps we are holding. And if you find that you are at your most relaxed right now, the most relaxed you've been all day, carry that awareness, carry that sensation of the warmth you've created throughout the hips and the lower body, that gentle care that we've taken for ourselves. Carry that with you as you step off the mat today. That notion that you can tap into that sense of release. We are able to let go of our attention at will by using the physicality of our body and the inhales and the exhales of our breath. When you are ready, again, with that care for your body, with your physical self, start to gently come up to a seated position. Any way you like onto your side, maybe rolling up to a seated position. We'll come back into a cross legs. With one inhale, draw the arms, bring the hands up to the sky. Maybe the palms come to kiss as you draw them down through heart center. And with a gentle tuck of the chin, we'll bow the head and thank ourselves for coming to our practice today. As always, I'm glad that you join me on your mat for this week in our Summer Slowdown series. Join me again next week, which I believe is our last yin series for our summer slowdown. And I hope that this has been a wonderful summer for you so far, and that you found some time to just take to yourself instead of just running from one place to another, as I know I have throughout most of my summer. As always, if you enjoyed this, please leave a comment below, hit that subscribe button, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye.